as there's some entrepreneurs out there that identify more as savers than spenders, and sometimes they have issues spending enough to get the deals in the door on a consistent basis. Like there's constantly throttling their marketing, which some people might not be able to relate to that, but there are some people out there like that. And you know what a profit first system does? It says, no, let's put a percentage towards marketing and making sure that you have money there and you're going to spend it so you can get the deal flow you want. So sometimes it helps people get to where they really need to be, or where they could be and where they can be, because they might not believe in themselves. But then other times, for really honestly, probably more like 85% of the entrepreneur world is the other side. I get $1, I spend it, it just goes back into it. It also gives you guidelines to say, I want you to be able to spend, but I also want you to protect yourself too. Like, I don't want you to build this business and then one bad deal takes everything sideways.
Welcome to Burning the Ships podcast, and I'm your host, Jason Seward, and today I've got David Richter with us. How you doing, David?
I'm doing good, Jason. Thanks for having me.
You said when we were just talking offline, you said you woke up to a very brisk 33 degrees in Orlando this morning.
Yeah, it was pretty chilly here. So that, yeah, definitely not the norm.
Right.
Yesterday was 70 degrees and sunny, and today's not quite so much.
Yep, and I'm in Virginia, and it was single digits this morning, and we're filled with ice right now, so I'm falling down everywhere I go. It's a nightmare. So, but David. Before I'm gonna get into your intro and set everything up, we'll have a great conversation. Before we do that, I'm gonna toss it over to my man JJ for JJ's joke of the week. Take it away, buddy.
Why was the broom late? It swept in.
All right, JJ, appreciate that. Now, David, I'm going to we're going to go in a little bit of different direction with this podcast than my listeners are usually accustomed to. So as I explained to you, we usually go 90% mindset, right? And there's going to be a lot of mindset discussion around the topic, we're going to discuss and everything you're doing. But I really want to get tactical with this one because a lot of our audience are either entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of takeaways they can get from this conversation that I hope inspire them to go and learn more about you, your teachings, the profit first model, and all of that. So we're gonna cover your story, but we're gonna, like I said, get a little more tactical with everything you teach and follow. So with that, I'm gonna kind of read off a little bit of an intro, and then we'll go from there. So
sounds good.
David is a real estate investor who has been involved in hundreds of deals across multiple strategies. But what makes his story interesting isn't deal count, it's what came after. He's the founder of Simple CFO Solutions and the author of Profit First for Real Estate Investing, a book that takes the popular Profit First framework and rewires it specifically for real estate investors. Investors who are great at finding deals, raising money, staying busy, but often terrible at actually keeping profit. David has lived that problem himself. He's seen what happens when revenue grows but clarity doesn't, when deals pile up but cash still feels tight. Today, we're not just talking about money systems, we're talking about the psychology of investors, why so many people look successful but feel broke, and how to build a business that actually funds your life instead of consuming it. So David, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I appreciate that intro, Jason.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's kind of get into your origin story. Before the book and the Simple CFO, what was your financial reality as an investor?
Yeah, out of college, someone gave me a Rich Dad Poor Dad in college. So then coming right out of college, I wanted to get into real estate investing. So I linked up with a company in my very early 20s that was doing about 5 wholesale deals a month. So that's where I got to cut my teeth and grow. I was there for 5 years and learned all the different exit strategies and learned all the different things to do in the single family space. And then 5 years into it, we had built this machine to about 25 deals a month and lots of different exit strategies and lots of different things we were doing. But we were spending about 26 worth of deals out the door. And I'm like, this isn't working. Why are we doing this? And that was the reason I even knew. I sat in a lot of seats there, so I was very fortunate and blessed that I got to see real estate investing from all its aspects, from marketing, sales, acquisitions, dispositions, project management, property management, even a transaction coordinator seat, like getting the deals across the finish line and making sure you got the funding lined up and all this stuff. So I was very fortunate in that I got to sit in every seat. And that last year I was with that company, I was in the finance seat. Even though my background is teaching, I was really good at learning and picking things up. That's why I had so many different, roles in the company. I was usually getting the role, filling the role, and then building a system and then getting out of it. So same thing for the finance seat that last year. And then that's where I learned. I learned how to read the numbers of the business because that's what tells the business's story. And that's where I was like, well, we're doing lots of deals, but we're spending more than we're making. And
Right.
to me, that was so eye-opening because as a 20-something guy, I was like, oh, if you've got a business, you got to be rich and all this, all the stinking mindset stuff I had going into it. Then I'm like, okay, we're going to these other masterminds. Let me ask some of these guys and gals out here at these other places if they're, have they ever experienced something like this? And then everyone, like they're talking great up in front of everyone, but then you get them close one-on-one at the bar or something. It's like, yeah, we're in the same position. Yeah, we made $2 million, but I have no idea where that money went. And so I quickly figured out that it didn't matter how much you're making. It mattered what you're doing with the money. And a lot of us didn't know what we were doing with the money. And that's what took me on the trajectory of going down and researching these other things like Profit First eventually and all that stuff. But that was my investing experience. And even my mindset around money at that time was, it was at first I thought you had a business, you've got to be rolling in the dough and all that stuff, especially if you're doing lots of deals. But that quickly turned around once I figured out what the numbers meant and what the story of a business is and like, what am I really looking for? So that's how I got into investing. And that's what really opened my eyes that there was an epidemic out there of lots of people feeling like we did.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I wouldn't have known that your initial path was not in finance. And
No, right? I look like I'm a finance person. So I look like I should have gone like for accounting and bookkeeping and like I should be a QuickBooks expert. But no, it was honestly during the 5 years there, my 5th year that I literally sat down with the CPA and was like, you got to teach me everything. How do I get into QuickBooks? What do I look at? How do I enter this stuff? I just remember asking a million questions. So I learned the finances through the School of Hard Knocks, really, and like asking the CPA lots of questions, but then got proficient to be able to know, okay, I know how to read a P&L, a balance sheet, all the different statements and all, where all the numbers go and everything. But yes, I get that a lot, Jason. Like, you look like you should have gone to college for accounting, but it's interesting you went for real, you got into the real estate world.
So, and to be clear, that wasn't a looks driven.
I know
that was more.
So miss it
because you do look like finance,
right? I do. I look like a finance guy.
But it was more so like the expertise that you just spill out now in the finance world. It would have made me think that you've just always been driven this way. So go back a little bit.
Yeah.
You said you went to school as a teacher, or to be an was that a school educator? Like, were you going to teach? What were you trying to teach? What was your plan there?
Like secondary education. Our church had like its own school system and all that. And I thought I was just going to go to school, and then come back and teach kids. I will say though, it's funny that you mentioned that, Jason, like the professionalism and like knowing things and being able to teach and all that, because I did in high school, someone gave me some Dave Ramsey books and I liked those. So I was like, oh, I never heard of this stuff before, like that there were systems for personal finance and like that there could be like getting out of the debt and like the debt snowball and just learning some of those things. Then when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in college, I'm like, oh man, like now we could leverage money to actually make us money and make it while we're sleeping, or like being able to have rentals or build equity as well and assets and like new words that I had never known, up until that point, because I was going to go to school, get a job, and then work and then retire, and that was my life trajectory. But some of those books really changed my mindset around money. The first one was basically, I don't have to stay stuck where most people do, stay stuck in debt, stay stuck in the finance, and like it's consuming me all the time. And then Rich Dad Poor Dad kind of put that vision in front of me of, oh, okay, there's something even greater that I could try and go out there and do as well.
It amazes me. I mean, we're a relatively smaller podcast, but I've interviewed 200 people on here, and 50% or more have referenced Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was an impactful book to me. Like it is like that. The the staying power of that book and the message and how many
Right.
people it inspired, it literally, like mine and my business partner simultaneously turned our lives around. It
Yeah.
lit a fire. And then that, for me, just sent me down the similar mindset of, like, God, man, I don't have to do it the way everybody else is doing it. And so I went down like the financial independence, retire early path.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
all into real estate and all that. So, but yeah, that's,
Have you had Sharon Lecter on your podcast, one of the
I have not.
co-authors of the? You need to. Okay, I'm going to introduce you after this. I know
Please.
we're on the podcast, but I'm like, if more than 50% on the podcast have referenced it, then most
Yes.
people listening are either going to read it or I think she'd be a great introduction. So let me get her to you after this, but
Yeah.
she made such a profound impact in my life, and she actually joined a mastermind I'm a part of a couple years ago, and now is in there. And like we've talked, and I've been on her podcast, she's been on mine, all this stuff. So that's where I like to. I know we're not going into profit first yet, but it's like the people that are successful that have made such a big impact. She's still out there and making an impact and like teaching financial literacy. So that's why I cling to those people like Sharon Lecter and the people like that. And I think that's why I do what I do today. Well, no, I know it's why I do what I do today, because it's always resonated with me. Like money is just that tool, and a lot of us just don't know how to use that tool for something good. And it's like also the thing that holds us back the most from really getting what we want, but we think that getting the money is going to get us what we want. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, but like there's a big but there. Like we have to make sure that it's not the end all be all, but that it's actually getting us what we want and along the way as well. And that's what drove me really to the profit first whole methodology and everything.
Yeah. And you mentioned a couple things that, well, this you said kind of real quickly, but as you're training to be a teacher, it sounds like it made you a good student, and that's what you said. And I think that's an important thing to touch on, because, like, I look at it in reverse almost. Like your best students are typically your best coaches and teachers as well, right?
Yeah.
And but definitely folks that are trained to coach and teach and inspire and motivate also received that very well. So that seems to have positioned you, whether you knew it or not early on, but in a way where you were able to absorb all this information, observe what other, like these conversations at the conferences and stuff of like, okay,
Yeah.
there's a disconnect here. Let me learn it, figure it out, and then you've implemented it.
That's a really good observation, because so many people don't learn how to learn. Like they don't learn that there's a process to that. And like, because school doesn't really do it, it makes us what, a factory worker, and like, just listen to what we say, stuff it down your throat, cram for a test, memorize this stuff. Where as a teacher in college, it was more about, well, no, like, here's how we have to do it. Like, how do we think about this? And like, how are we going to put a lesson plan together that actually gets the point across and that people will want to listen to? And like, so it did make me, yeah, I would say a better student. So that way I could sit down with a CPA for a year, like 5 years after college, to be like, just teach me. I need to know and learn, and how do these interact, and like being able to ask better questions than if I didn't have, like some of that foundation of like, how do I learn how to learn? I also think opening up my mind to those other books, like the Dave Ramsey, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's like, it helped me understand, oh, I could think about this different too. And so there's another great book, I'm going to drop this one here, by Adam Grant, called Think Again. And that is so good. It's just challenging your assumptions and helping you be a better thinker. That's a really good book if you're an entrepreneur and you don't want to get stuck in the ruts. And if you're going through a mindset issues, like Think Again is a really, really good one. No matter the background, no matter how you grew up, it's like it just dives into, here's how to be able to think yourself out of situations.
I love that. It's I say it a lot on this podcast, but anywhere. But I think talking about thinking through situations, I think it's probably the biggest superpower an entrepreneur can have, is the skill of, or it's a bunch of skills combined, but problem solving, puzzle
Yes.
solving, and almost to a point where we welcome problems because we get excited for the opportunity to solve them and think through them. So, but that's not as common as you would think. A lot of folks tend to panic when things get too stressful. But that could be a whole nother podcast.
Oh yeah, I could definitely go on that rabbit trail for sure.
Yeah. So, you mentioned like there was that moment, or maybe not a moment, a series of moments and experiences where you just had this, and I see it still today, but this eye-opening event or series of events that led you to see that all these people that are posturing up as big entrepreneurs, and maybe they're not even intending to posture up that way, but from the
Right.
outside looking in, it's all put together. And you know, they own 1,000 units, or they're flipping 200 houses a year, or whatever the case may be. But you look behind the curtain, they're bleeding money every year, right? And
Yeah.
they're in panic. And I've seen it as well. And it sounds like you recognizing that kind of lit the fire into, okay, there's a better way to do this. So where did that lead you? Like these conversations, sounds like you were working for a company and observing all this, but when did that set you up to kind of start going out on your own?
So here we go. There was an actual like light bulb moment. So needless to say, I wish I had a better ending to the first story, like with all those deals in the 25 and like, oh, I read Profit First to turn everything around. Well, no, it wasn't even out then when I was there. So needless to say, a lot of people went their separate ways and started either their own companies or did their own things. We left amicably. It wasn't like a bad breakup or divorce or anything. It was more of the, well, we can't keep doing 25 deals a month and spending 26 worth. Right. So I moved with my wife and daughter at that time to Richmond, Virginia, and started working with an investor there, who honestly was the opposite of what you think of the stereotypical beat your chest mastermind type person is, of like, oh, I'm doing all these deals. He had a good portfolio. He was doing about a deal a month. I mean, he could brag if he wanted to, but he wasn't. But his stuff behind the scenes, when I was like, you got to show me your numbers. That's it. Your numbers tell your story. So he shows me them and they're a mess. I'm like, dang it. So it's not just the people that posture up like we were talking. It's like the mom and pop shops that are doing well behind the scenes, and then they still don't have like some of the key pieces of knowing those numbers and like how do you really get the most out of your business and your money. And so I'm like, okay, here, I'd like to build a plan with you. I'd like to get your books in order. I'd like to also tell you like where your money is and all this stuff. And so I did that with him. It took about 2 or 3 months. Cleaned up the stuff. He didn't have the right bookkeeper. They didn't know he was a real estate investor. The bookkeepers didn't know real estate. So it's like they were just putting things all over the place. So I helped him get that cleaned up. I came to him and I said, man, I found something when I was cleaning this up. Yeah, I'm like, but this whole time we've been working together, you're like, where's my money? Where's my money? I feel like I should have more money in the bank. I'm like, well, once we have these clean books, you have a small portfolio, but there's enough here where he's got like, 20 to 30 properties. I'm like, you're under leveraged. I said, you dumped a lot of your own money into these and haven't pulled it out. He was like 30 or 35% loan to value. So he had like 65 to 70% that he was able to pull out, or, like equity. And so I said, how much do you want to pull out? He's like, I'd like to be 60 to 65% leverage. And so he was able to pull several $100,000 out. Then COVID hit. And he's like, he's sitting on all this cash that he just pulled out before all this stuff went down. And he's like, the world's going this way and that way. And he told me, he's like, this has been life changing. I don't feel I'm in a panic. I now know my numbers and have like the accurate, so I can actually solve the right problems in my business, because accurate numbers gives you clarity to solve the right problems. He said also something that I'll never forget. He had about an 8 or 9-year-old son at that time. And he had 2 daughters as well too. And he said, this has been life-changing because I can pass this on to them. Like, I can show them, like, what numbers are and where it is. And he saw the future of, like, I could be able to give them something that they'd be proud of as well, too. And I'm like, this is it. Like, that was the light bulb moment for me. I'm like, I want to give more people that feeling. I want them to know that it's just that clarity that they're lacking. And it's like, if you get your numbers in order, you can tell the real story of your business and see, is it a horror story or is it something you're proud of? And like, how do we keep doing the good things and how do we get rid of the bad decisions? So that's when Simple CFO was born, which then was the trigger for one of my mentors to reach out and say, you should read the book Profit First. And then it was, history from there, game over. It's like, then Profit First was a part of every single client that I ever worked with from that point forward, from that very first year. And so that's how I got to Simple CFO. But I wanted to give more people that feeling. I wanted them to know their story, because I'm reading a great book that just came out recently from the author. He wrote the book. It's a very popular book the last few years, sold, I think, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of copies, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. He's got a second book called The Art of Spending Money, and he says money is really about your story. It's like money is just a collection of stories. Like you can justify anything that you've ever spent on because you had a reason and a logic and could justify it. And it's like that's why in a business, I wanted to be able to give people a system so their stories could be a lot more fun. Like, why did we spend this? Why are we doing this? Or why did we take a vacation? Or why did we save up? Why do we have the profit first system in place? Like, what do you really want from your business and from that? So that's why I started the whole thing. And really the catalyst after that guy, it's like I had gotten a lot of the data up until that point of like, we were doing 25 deals a month and spending 26 worth, going to masterminds, and other people were in that boat. And then a few years later, I helped this guy turn it around. It was like you said, it was a bunch of things, but that was like the turning point and the light bulb moment was like, now that I've got the tools, I know I can do this. I know I've helped this person. Like I want to help other people.
That's awesome. So many notes I got here. This is crazy. Do you know Kelly Garrett from Charleston, South Carolina? She runs Rehab Wallet. It's a hard money lending company.
Oh,
So
I've heard of Rehab Wallet. I'm not sure I know Kelly.
yeah. So Kelly's their CEO. They're a gigantic company, but she's been our mentor. So we have a hard money lending company as well. But early on, when she was mentoring us, she told me to read 2 books: Profit First, the original Profit First, and Psychology of Money. Those
Wow,
books
that's
that crazy as homework.
Yeah.
And obviously Profit First is big to your life, but the Psychology of Money, that's awesome that you reference that one. So the other thing, speaking about your client in Richmond, how long did you live in Richmond?
I think 2 years I was in Richmond, Virginia, and got to know a lot of people. He ran he still runs a meetup thing in the Richmond areas, and I know several of the key players there as well. I don't know, Jim Ingersoll and a couple others that are just very big in the Richmond area that I love to death. Honestly, those people as well helped me a ton. Like Jim got me on his stage within the first year or two, and just so many people that I owe lots to. Rich Lennon was that first guy. He's not embarrassed, and I'm not embarrassed to say, because he turned stuff around. He actually has a hard money lending company now as well too, and he's an incredible human being. But he was able to leverage his stuff because then he sold some of his properties to start the hard money. And it's like, it's because of these catalysts. And that's why I love this. Like, can I just give you the opportunity to make the decisions you really want to make from your business?
Yeah. Jim's a good friend of ours. We're
awesome.
We're actually, we're launching in a few months. We're still finalizing the details, but a new podcast under his Dealmaker brand, and
cool.
host it. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and that'll be more tactical in nature with real estate. But I know Rich very well. Daniel Clayman, I don't know if you know him, but he was on the podcast. But I'm just south of Richmond in the Hampton Roads area.
Okay.
But probably 50% of our business and clients are up in the Richmond area.
Very cool. Then I know probably a lot of the same people.
Yep. Very cool. Small world. So I want to talk about the psychology of real estate investors, right? And I know you're very in tune with that. So like, why are in your opinion, and articulate it however you want, but why are real estate investors so good at making money, typically, like generating revenue, but typically, and I know there's exceptions, obviously, but terrible at keeping it, right?
Yeah.
Great at making it, terrible at keeping it. And I know this is a lot of the principles you're going to talk about, but let's start there.
Well, number one, they're not weird. Like it's not unusual, because that's most entrepreneurs. Like if you have the entrepreneur bug, you probably are good at sales or marketing. Like you're good at the front end. You can shove money in the door, which is honestly a great skill to have. Like you need that skill, or otherwise you're not going to have a business for very long. I think one of the root issues is that whatever industry you're in, but since we're talking to, if you're listening to this, probably real estate investing or touch that world. A lot of real estate investors, myself included, when we were doing all those deals in my early 20s, we thought and we think we're in the real estate game. That, hey, we have to learn how to get deals. We got to get more deals. We got to build, bigger portfolio, more wholesale deals, more whatever, more. When really the game that we all play as entrepreneurs, but especially in the real estate world, because you can make so much of it in a short amount of time, we're playing the game of money. But no one teaches us that. number one, they're not teaching us that we're playing the game of money. Number two, they don't teach us how to set it up to win. And number three, we don't play to win. We honestly are just playing defense all the time. We're trying to put more money in our account than goes out. You're constantly playing defense and never really playing offense. You think more money will solve the problems, where a lot of times people scale into oblivion. They scale themselves out of business because the problems they had with money at 100,000 do not go away at 1,000,000. They get 10 times bigger. So it's like, this is where if you don't get the money game down when you're smaller, it gets a lot harder when you get bigger, like to unlearn some of that. And if you're already down the road, then it's like we have to build some of these good habits into it and replace the bad habits we might have with money. So I think number one, we're not taught the game of money, or that we don't have that framework. Okay, number two, a lot of people think the finances are boring and suck because they're not numbers people. They're allergic to spreadsheets. They don't like to do that side. So I totally get that. It's more of the, if I just have enough in the bank, then I don't have to worry about that, and I'll just keep going and getting deals. Which, if you keep yourself in that cycle and you never learn what the business is really telling you and the story, that's what I call the real estate rat race. Well, I'll reference Rich Dad Poor Dad again. He created that game, right? Cash Flow 101. He actually created the game first and wrote the book to sell the game, but that's a different story. But it's like he created the game, and in the game, he has, for like the first 90% of the game, you're in this wheel trying to go around, landing on these little green spaces saying big or small deal. And then there's a financial freedom track, or a fun track, he calls it. Like that's where you achieve financial freedom and you're out there on that fun track. But so many of us get caught in the real estate rat race trying to land on those green spaces, more deals. Like, I have to get more deals in order to get out of the rat race. That's when I realized it does not matter how many deals you do. It matters what you do with the money that determines the financial freedom. Because that guy doing one deal a month, like Rich doing one deal a month, leveraged it eventually into a hard money lending company and is financially free. Like, he doesn't have to show up to events or teach people or do those things, but he chooses to because he likes to. Versus, we were doing 25 deals a month. We were doing 25 times more than what Rich was doing in my early days, and we did not hit financial freedom. So it's like we were good at the real estate game, and we were good at going around in that circle and landing on the spaces, but we never built a bridge. And I think that's where a lot of people, they get discouraged because they're like, I don't know, I think one day maybe I'll have enough properties or enough money in the bank, and then I'll ride off into the sunset, whatever that means for them. Whether that's like they just love real estate and they build it bigger, or they sell everything and they spend the rest of their time traveling, whatever it might be. I think they get discouraged a lot too. The psychology is like, I don't know money. I don't understand it. I don't like it. It's boring. It's the finances. So I don't want to, and it's scary. I'll be very honest. A lot of people are scared of the finances. That's a very real fear we get when we start working with people, is that I don't even want to look at it because I think it's so terrible and I feel ashamed and embarrassed of where my finances are, that I don't want anyone to see, and I don't even want to see. Like, they're saying to themselves, I don't want to look at it. And that's where I think a lot of it comes into play. So I know I just dumped a lot, but I think that it all plays into, why doesn't someone say, oh yeah, I should do less deals but make more or keep more, because that's what I really want. I think it's also, okay, one other thing, and then I'll stop talking.
Bring it on.
One other thing is, it's also culturally acceptable, especially in the Western countries, to be like more. That's all we want, is more stuff, more deals, more things, more cars, bigger house, like all the stuff that we get fed every day. Then you ratchet it up in 2007, 8, 9 with social media, and then social media starts pumping into us, look at what everyone else is doing. Don't you want this? And then we get ads on top of that of like, then this is what we're trying to sell and all the things. And then we're very discontent. And that makes us go into the rat race even harder. And we're like, what are we doing? Then one day you wake up and you say, I had a guy like this. It almost makes me tear up. I was on a call with him a year or two ago. And he's like, I've been in the real estate world for 20 years, 2 decades, man. And he's like, I still feel like I'm going around in that rat race. He's like, I've never been able to feel like I actually have money. And my heart was like breaking for him, because he said on that call, he's like, I wish what this is teaching and like profit first and like everything you're talking about was here 20 years ago, because he's like, I don't think I'd be in the same boat. He's like, if I would really listen and really dig in and really do the things right, there's no way I'd say the same thing. And that just was like, oh man, that's why I'm so passionate about this. And like, thank you for having me on the podcast to even share, even this part, because it's like so many people are in the same boat, but they think that no one else is. It's like everyone's feeling this. They really are. I literally just interviewed a guy on my podcast that's been a client of ours for about 8 months. And he said on that initial call, I was so like stressed and everything at the beginning. But he's like, by the end, you know what, why I really moved forward with you? He's like, you helped me realize that everyone's going through this. Like I wasn't weird, and that this wasn't your first call where someone had screwed up royally with their finances. I'm like, I promise everyone's going through this. You're going through it. Everyone is at some level to some degree, and we can get you out of this. And that's really a lot of the mindsets there. And I'm sorry, I went all over the place,
No.
but I think it all contributes to why people just think making more solves it all.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, I have been guilty of this. So I spent
Yeah, me
kind of
too.
real quickly give you my backstory, but for 17 years out of college, I worked in the corporate world. I was in sales, insurance, and sales management, all of that. Very good, by all measures, a good career. I made a lot of income. My way to avoid facing my finance illiteracy was just to make more money, right? Growth of
Yeah.
income. So that's the way I avoided coming face to face with how poor I was with managing my money. I just made more, and I was
Yeah.
good at making money. Like through sales, I was good at all that. All that did was just kick the can down the road. I was horrible at managing finances. And finally, like, it's not natural to me. I don't like the numbers. I don't like
Yeah.
spreadsheets. I hate them.
I
And
get it.
I have visions, and all that stuff. It took partnering with the right individual who is, he would sit all day at a computer playing in a spreadsheet. He understands finances. And once we developed that partnership, we were able to, like, I could do the things I was comfortable with, make the money, and allow him to clean up the financial
Yeah.
pieces of it. And that is what, so I think a lot of folks, and what probably, and you correct me, I mean, you're talking to a lot more people, like getting behind the curtains of their finances, but I think a lot of folks, and you nailed it, are ashamed of what their habits, like, are ashamed to peel the curtains back and open the books up. So that avoids them contacting somebody like you and bringing them on, because
Right.
they're embarrassed by what they're going to have to open up, or avoids them partnering with someone that might have those strong skill sets
Yeah.
because they don't want to expose that. Is that something you see a lot?
Oh, a ton of times.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's why I don't get as many calls as I would love.
Right.
You know, it's like
Right.
because people are thinking that I'm ashamed, I don't want to talk about this, because I've had so many calls where people are like, man, I bet you've never seen it this bad, or like, I bet this is pretty bad. And I'm like, I know they're just signaling out, like, tell me I'm not weird. And it's like, I get that. Like, you're not weird. Like, this is very typical and very normal. And that's where, if people get on a call with us, it's like we're trying to make them feel safe. Like, you're safe. Tell me anything you need to. And same thing, if you have a business partner, it's like someone needs to have that side, and then being able to make it safe for you to have that conversation back and forth. And that's where, if you don't have a business partner, that's where you have people like us today, where 10 years ago, the fractional world wasn't really a thing. It wasn't big out there. And like, you couldn't get a fractional COO or CFO or CMO, like marketing, operations, finance, where today, if you don't have a business partner, you can lean on some of those things if you don't have those certain skills. And that's where it's like, yes, I want you to feel safe. It's not weird that what you're feeling. A lot of people feel ashamed, and literally the antidote to shame really is two things. It's like forgiveness. So like, it's okay. You've done this. Let's forgive yourself and let's move forward. But the other thing is that listening ear, like someone to really be there for you and like help you move past it as well too. So that's where, if you don't want to stay stuck there, you need some help with that. And it could be good systems. That's why I like Profit First, because I think it's a very good step for an individual to be like, I can start to take control of this myself. It's not the end all be all, but it's like a very good first step. So yeah, I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah, and I think it's, for me anyway, I mean, it's this mindset of, and a lot of entrepreneurs are like this, especially if they're really driven to sell and market and grow. But the mindset is, and this is not a bad mindset, but it's a more of an abundance mindset rather than a scarcity mindset. So abundance in the sense of, I can earn my way through all of the other stuff I'm not good at. And to your point, those things that are stressing you out, that are or motivating you to be more abundant aren't going to go away when you're so abundant and you've 10x'd everything. They're still there and they're going to stress you, and you'll never get out of that cycle of I'll just get to the next level and it all fix itself, because you haven't fixed the habits. So I think, and this is a good segue to kind of getting into the profit first model, but like real estate income, like it's chaotic, it's lumpy, it's not, you're not getting the same check every month. So that creates a lot of noise and chaos and fear around how to manage it or dive into it. But like, what has to change first before going into this profit first mindset?
I think number one, they just have to be willing to face it, to know that one of the best things you can do is really the mindset of, if I am going to change it, I have to face it. And I know that's super scary, and that's why, to me, profit first is a good first step, because it's like, yes, we're going to face it, but we're going to face it where you don't have to become this financial wizard. You don't have to become this, someone that loves spreadsheets and loves numbers. It's like you're managing cash. So like, let's start there. So I would think that's the only thing, is if they're willing to at least look at it, that would be the number one thing. It's if you get over that hump, then, I mean, not to like keep putting ourselves out there, but like if you partner up with good people, that will make you feel safe. Like that's another like big bonus. If you can't get over the hump yourself, you might need someone that takes you by the hand to help you get over that, to say it's not weird, it's not the only thing, you're not the only one walking through this, and we've walked thousands of people through this before, so it's like we know that path. It's like tread in this road and you just can't see it because you haven't been down this path before, but we can help you. So I would say either one of those things. It's like, are you willing to face it, or do you need that help to face it and someone that's going to walk you next to you on that journey?
Okay, so now they've decided they want to face it. Let's go. What is and again, I'm going to encourage everybody to go read the book, right? Because you'll get way more in the weeds, but let's kind of at a higher level go through the framework of profit first.
Yeah, so you've heard Rich Dad Poor Dad, because we've already talked about that, where he says pay yourself first. So it's like, it's that same mindset of habits with money. It's like, profit should not be an event that you're waiting for in the future. Profit should be a habit that's built into your business off every deal, and like making sure that it is. And that's where most entrepreneurs get stuck in the typical cycle of sales minus expenses equals profit, which is I make a sale, I pay everyone else and their mother, and you're waiting for profit someday, and someday never comes. Let's just be honest. Where the profit first mentality is, it's sales minus profit equals expenses. That's the wealth formula. I make a sale, I make sure that we're paid first, and then there's still expenses to grow the business, but like now I actually have a business I like versus a business I hate, because all I'm doing is paying expenses. Now I'm actually putting some in my pocket first and making sure that we're growing a healthy business that's actually going to be around for as long as you want it to and providing what you want. But what I liked about Profit First is didn't stop there, where a lot of those other books are great and the great mindset books, but they don't have a system behind it. Like, okay, great, pay yourself first, but how do I do that realistically? Like, how do I pay myself first? I've got all these expenses, or I'm not even profitable, so what do I do? Where Profit First, the practical side of the framework is the envelope method. Like, where Dave Ramsey made that super popular years ago in the personal finance space, and other people have done that throughout the years, where in your personal life, you set up envelopes for all your expenses and you're naming every dollar. You're intentional with every dollar, so that way when the money's out, there's no more you can spend, because then you just spend yourself into oblivion and now you're behind the 8 ball. So this is where you would set up in Profit First, the traditional Profit First, the 5 fundamental accounts. There's bank accounts, not envelopes, that we're going to set up. Business checking accounts. And you're going to name those certain business checking accounts, because usually what an entrepreneur has is one big black hole bank account where all the money comes in, all the money goes out, never to be seen again. And then they wake up saying the things, everything that we've been saying. I don't know where the money is. I don't know how much I've made. I don't know what's mine, or I make money but feel broke. Why in the world is this going on? So that's where, if you have that one account, that's probably where you'll end up. Where if you set up several accounts, and the Profit First, I'll give at least the foundational ones, the first 3 accounts that I would set up. Like if you're on this podcast, I would expect you to set up at least one of these accounts from this podcast, because it's that simple, like to start building good habits. It's either the profit account, the owner's comp or the pay yourself first account or the owner's tax account. Like these three help you keep more of the money you're making. Profit is more of the icing on the cake. It's reserves slash your fund money where you take it out quarterly. The owner's pay, I think, is the most psychologically beneficial account. It's the pay yourself consistently account. It's the you pay yourself something every week or every bi-weekly or monthly. Like this is the pay for the work you do in the business. That's the owner's comp or owner's pay account. Then the tax account is, if you're listening to this and it's near tax time, you're going to be very glad if you set up a tax account where throughout the year you put a little money away for taxes and then you get that bill and then you can pay that bill. Just talked with someone last week, one of our clients there. So he's like, I got the bill. I have the money. I sent it out. I don't have to worry about that for a year. I'm like, that's what I want for you if you're listening, those types of those moments. So those are the first three that help you keep more. The other two are functional. Like the first three are more psychological for you to keep more. The other two are functional. It's income and expenses. Like I want an account to see how much is coming in. I want to have an account for dedicated to just the expenses of the business so you can really track what is going out cash-wise on a monthly basis that you're spending. So those are the foundational accounts. But if you're listening to this, I would set up at least the owner's pay account. Even if you're like, hey, I aspire to get into real estate, well, then guess what you should set up? You should set up like a real estate account in your personal life to get into real estate investing, or like to start marketing, or like to maybe buy a course or buy a mentor, like mentorship or something, or coaching. If you need that push out of the gate, it's like, what do you need? Like set aside an account for that so you're intentional. Maybe you call it a freedom account, and it's like, this is how I'm going to buy my freedom by setting up my own business. But then if you are already down the road in business, I would at least set up the owner's pay account so you start to pay yourself something. If you're like, well, I'm not profitable, what do I do? Can you live off of 99% of what's coming in and put 1% to owner's pay? Like, can you start small? Start where you are and then build from there. If you're like, well, no, I'm spending more, well, then that's an issue, right? Like then you know what your number one issue in your business is right now then. Like if you're spending more than you're making, that cannot be sustained for a very long time. So like we have to get out of that rat race, because then honestly, you think the rat race is bad, try running the debt rat race where all you're doing is trying to catch up back to zero. And it's like that's where we don't want to go backwards. So we need a system that helps us stay away from that, but puts us on the path of profit and keeping more. So that's the practical side of profit first as well. And that's why you don't need to be a finance person. You don't need the spreadsheets. All you need to do is set up bank accounts and be like, okay, when a dollar comes in, how much goes to that one that I'm protecting? And then the rest of it to be able to grow the business like you want to.
Yeah, I love it. We when we were building when I was building my independent of my partner real estate portfolio, I went several years, David, where I never pulled up. I had a big W-2 income, right? So I never pulled a penny out, and this was just something that every dollar just rolled into the next thing. So hindsight, it did build something a nice foundation, but it was not building good habits at all. So I had to unwind a lot of those habits as we built this partnership. And now our hard money lending company, we've been fortunate to scale it very quickly. It's a very profitable company, but and this just goes back to the importance of either finding someone like you that can do it at a fractional level, or teaming up with someone that's very good at this. But we follow this model exactly how you laid it out, because my partner is such a big believer in it. Now, if it was me independent and I didn't have him and I still had the embarrassment of, like this would blow up in my face. And my mindset would be just keep scaling, it'll get better. So everything you just said, like I am a real example of someone that without the right tools in place could be heading down that same path of a lot of stress, possibly bankrupt, possibly going under, and looking for my next W-2 job,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, very good stuff. Does profit first, in your opinion, ever slow growth? And if so, is that a good thing?
Sometimes it slows growth. And that's where you have to ask yourself, did you get into business just to grow, or did you get into business to have a business that you love and that provides what you want? Because sometimes it also fuels growth. Let's say that I've actually run into this. as there's some entrepreneurs out there that identify more as savers than spenders, and sometimes they have issues spending enough to get the deals in the door on a consistent basis. Like there's constantly throttling their marketing, which some people might not be able to relate to that, but there are some people out there like that. And you know what a profit first system does? It says, no, let's put a percentage towards marketing and making sure that you have money there and you're going to spend it so you could get the deal flow you want. So sometimes it helps people get to where they really need to be, or where they could be, and where they can be, like, because they might not believe in themselves. But then other times, for really honestly, probably more like 85% of the entrepreneurial world is the other side. I get $1, I spend it, it just goes back into it. It also gives you guidelines to say, I want you to be able to spend, but I also want you to protect yourself too. Like, I don't want you to build this business and then one bad deal takes everything sideways. So then, yes, sometimes it slows growth. I have a story where there's a guy we worked with right at the beginning doing 4 deals a month. But then after that, he told me on a Zoom call when he was like in scale mode, he's like, we did more deals last year than I've ever done, but I lost more money than I've ever lost. And I'm like, okay, well then this year, let's find out what you really need from your business. And then he went and found out, like, we do this whole need and want exercise. What do you need? What do you want? He found how many deals he needed to do in order to just hit what he really needed for his family. And he's like, he came back and he said, I need to do 5 deals this next year. I'm like, what? Like 5? Like not 1 a month, but like 5 for the year. I'm like, you were doing 4 deals a month. He's like, yes, if I cut this, if I take this out, I didn't need this system. I don't have to rob from Peter to pay Paul anymore, because he was like flipping and rentals. He's like, I only need to do 5. And so that next year he did. He slowed down, built a better foundation, put money in the bank, put several $100,000 in the bank just from 5 deals. And then from there, the next year he was able to scale better. So it's like, you might slow down to build the foundation you really need, but then you can scale. But scaling from reserves is so much better than revenue. If you're scaling from your revenue, you're constantly in the rat race. If you scale from reserves, you're have an actual business that can be more of the, that term recession proof. Like if you have reserves and if you have that discipline, then it's like, then you're scaling from reserves versus just I make some money, I pour it all back in. And as long as the money keeps coming into the bank account, we can keep doing that. But what happens when the market changes or a life circumstance changes or something, whatever it might be, COVID happens and you have no idea what's going to go on. It's like those things pop up from year to year, month to month. It could be every couple of years. So it's like when those times come, we just want to put ourselves in the best position. So yes, I would say the short answer is yes. Sometimes you slow down, but it's to get in a better position. But sometimes on the flip side, it helps you speed up when you might not be spending the money you really should be spending to get the deals in the door that you need as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'll share a few things within our company that this is very relevant right now as we speak, but we just had a 2-year growth period that it was hockey stick. Everything was good about it on the surface, right? And we were making money, but it was really rapid scale. We were scaling ahead of what we could manage, right? And we got to a point probably about 6 months ago and thankfully, again, my mind is go, 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 go. So I've got a good team in place that throttles that and governs that a little bit. But my partner and I had like a heart to heart, like there's no slowing down in sight. If we keep going, and our motto is pretty simple. We raise investor capital, we lend it out. It's a fund. Yeah. And so there was plenty of capital to be raised, and we were just bringing it in before we had the proven loan demand. Does that make sense? So we got to a point where we said, look, let's stop. We're going to shut the valve off. We're not bringing in another investor dollar. We'll create a waiting list and we'll bring it in as our demand. But let's see if this year that we're in right now, let's grow with what we have. And by that is, let's really dial into every penny that we're spending, every penny that we're not spending, and could we better move money around and stuff like that. And by dissecting this, now we're projecting to be far more profitable than we would have been had we grown another $10 million, so
awesome.
That again, that's not my thinking. My thinking is the opposite of that, but I know that's the right way to think and approach it. And we now are in a position where we're dealing with a lot of fix and flippers, and they're doing high volume, and they're just growing. and we're seeing the numbers on every deal that we're funding for them. And, you know, we're kind of trying to take that same approach and explain it to them like, hey, you might want to just pause, like take a step back. Let's assess what we've got going on, because the bigger they grow, if our dollars are in their deals, that's more risk for us, right? So
Yep.
it's a completely different mindset. It's not a scarcity mindset, but it's more of a cautious, just like pay attention to what you have, make that as absolute profitable as you can, and then grow behind that. And I think
Yeah.
that's like summarizing what you just said as well. So
Yep. And there's a good book that the same guy that wrote Good to Great, Jim Collins, wrote Great by Choice. And I forget what he calls it, but it's something like healthy paranoia, where it's like you still want to grow, but you also want to be paranoid that you're not going to grow yourself out of business. And it's like making sure that you have both sides there, because that's really what a healthy business does. They grow, but they grow at the scale that they're supposed to. Because like you said, like, yeah, you could build it and you could keep going to the moon, but if you have no profit at the end of the day, why did you do it? It's like,
yep.
and that's where a lot of people just don't take that stock of what's really important to me. Like, is it just that I want to be able to stand up and say, this is how much we did, but then you go back home and your life is a mess and you're miserable because there's no money and like you're literally struggling to pay bills. It's like, that's where I just want to, what is really important to you when it comes to the finances, when it comes to the money, when it comes to your business, because I want to make sure your business is pointing you towards the things that you really want from it.
Okay, so you've got your real estate, you've got your book, you've got Simple CFO. What's
Yep.
really important to you?
Like all those things, and my family and my time really is what's important. I've got a 9-year-old daughter and I've got a wife. So thankfully, because of the business and because I've been intentional, I can schedule my time in first in the week and be like, okay, I want to work out, but then I also want time with Angela, my wife, and Eleanor, my daughter. And like, when are we going to do that? And that to me is the ultimate freedom, is to be able to say, okay, I might not have millions and millions in the bank, but that's not important to me right now. What's important to me is, do I control my time? Has my business allowed me enough to control at least the time that I want to? Now, it doesn't mean that I don't still go on trips and I don't speak and I don't do stuff like this during the day. It's like, this is what's really important to me, are the things that I know are going to be there at the end of my life. I'm sorry, but if I worked with you, unless you're a client that just absolutely loves me, like, and has a personal connection with me, then I will probably not see you at my bedside when I'm like dying, like, so it's like, I love you and I want to take care of you. And I think that I can have a big impact, but like the priority is my wife, my daughter, the mental health, like the relationships that I have. That's what's really important to me. So honestly, that's why the business has to point towards that. That's why I say no to some things. That's why I have a fractional CFO for my business, where I'm like, if I spend this money, what does this mean? Like, do I not get to do the things I really want to do? Or would I be able to do more of the things I want to do if I spend this money? So it's like having certain controls in place for myself, because I know myself, I know what I want. Honestly, I think that's one of my superpowers that I've acquired over the last couple of years, is like, I know what I want and I aggressively go after it. And right now I'm in the stage of life where I have a 9-year-old daughter. So like, honestly, all she wants to do is spend time. I was literally on the floor with her for over an hour yesterday doing those stupid fuse beads. I am like not a details person, but I'm like sitting there and I created a Donald Duck face, like with these fuse beads for over an hour, and my back is killing me. I'm just like, girl, I love you. I love you so much. Like, because I'm just sitting there. So it's like that type of stuff that really lights me up. And I'm like, you know why I can do that? Because when she gets home from school, I'm done with work. Like, I've built that into who I am and how things are set up, because I want those times of connection now when she's young, because I know that doesn't always happen, like as she gets older and then when she moves away. And then obviously with my wife, I need to build some habits that we have now, so that way when we're empty nesters, we still like each other. So it's like doing stuff now intentionally, where 10 years from now, I'll be like, man, I'm glad David did that back then.
Yeah, I love that. When I left my corporate career in 2022, I had gotten to a point, I had a very demanding W-2 job. I had a big team under me, and we were buying 5 houses a month on the
Yeah.
side. That was my side hustle, and managing all these rehabs, and we were buying and holding mostly, but just, it was a lot going. I had 2 full-time jobs, and I was just right on the brink of like, I've got to leave this W-2 or I got to slow down on real estate. And when I decided to leave the W-2, I had decided. My wife, we had talked about it, but I had to get that final confirmation from her that she was okay with it.
Yeah.
And what she said, I've shared the story before, but we were in bed talking late one night, and I just said, I need to hear it. I need to know that you're not just telling me as the supportive wife, but you really are okay with me cutting this valve off of this career I've built and going all in on entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
And what she said, I'm gonna say it exactly like she said it because it's profound for me. She said, "Me and the kids do not give a shit how much money you make. We just want
Huh.
you here. Like we just want you here." And for me, I never thought of that. Like it was just make it, make it, make it to provide a life, right? And provide all these experiences when the greatest experience is just they want me there,
They
playing
want
on the
that.
floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
was present, but not mentally present all the time.
Yeah.
So that became right there, right? Like I put in my 2 weeks notice
Yeah.
a week after that. Like it was,
Ah,
and that,
I love
to
it.
your point, it became why I do everything, and everything is built with that forward facing, right? I'll compromise income, growth, wealth, all that
Yep.
stuff just to sit on my floor and play.
Do the
What,
fuse
yeah,
beats or do whatever. Yeah. I
yeah,
100% resonate.
yeah,
What you just said there is so key. It's in your career, you could still be present, but you weren't mentally present. But a lot of entrepreneurs are not mentally present. You know why? Because they're consumed with the money. Like, did that deal close? Is it going to go across if we didn't, what's going to happen? Like, maybe I won't be able to pay the bills. It's like, this is where if you have simple systems in place, what I'm really helping you with, it's a system for money, but it's really a system for peace of mind. Like, because of profit first, I don't have to worry. Like, I know we have money in the bank. I know what it's all earmarked for. I know if there's reserves. I know how much we live off of. Like, I know for myself personally, and there's nothing greater than being able to not think about money. Like,
yeah,
I don't have to think about money on a daily basis of like what typical people do. And that's where a lot of people that go down this road, where like a Rich Lennon, his thinking about money is way different. It's more like, how much more can we make? Not like, oh, shoot, if that deal doesn't close, what are we going to do? And it's like, that's where if you have systems, you have that clarity, you can really think about and then be present to the things you want to be, because then 10 years later from now, what are you going to wish for? Ah, shoot, I wish that deal would have closed, or I wish, like you won't even be able to name this address of that deal. It's like you'll be able to say like, yeah, but I'm going to remember that stupid Donald Duck thing. You know why? Because there was pain attached to it. Like there was there was many emotions going on last night in me where I'm like, this is great, and it's the finished product looked pretty cool, and my daughter did a little castle, and like now we have pictures, and they're going to be saved forever, and it's like I'm glad I did that versus obviously other things that I could be worried about.
yeah. And for anybody that's listening to this and say, "Oh, that's easy for them to say because they have money," right? You don't have to think about money. No, no,
Man, we have
that's
not always had money. That's
right.
the thing.
And yeah, but like
Oh
you don't
man.
have to. The path to get to what you're talking about is not grinding through and building a bunch of wealth. It's not thinking about money. From what I'm hearing you say, and kind of through
Yeah.
my experience, is having a label for the money, like having intention with the money. And even if that money means like that through your business, or whether it's like you can manage your personal budget if you have a W-2 job the same exact way, but you know what it is and you know what you can spend, and you don't have to think through it and be working from behind all the time. There's clarity and
Yeah.
simplicity and so much stress freedom in that, just labeling everything. And so this message is not for, oh, use this once you get there. It's get
Right.
there by using this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then be happy, not just where you end up, but on the journey too. So like you're enjoying the time now
Yeah.
because you have, and what you were talking about, like with the intentionality, it's like you're putting systems in place, just like you have systems for everything else in a business. It's like most people just don't have it for the finances. So that's the thing they worry about the most. So like if you're worried about the finances the most, you probably just don't have a system that's helping you get to where you want to be. And then that mindset is seeping into everything else in your life, and it's consuming you. We just don't want you to be there, and that's why we've gone down this road so long.
And you just touched on something I actually ask a lot of my guests, but I mean, you just brought it up, but journey versus destination. And it's kind of a cliche thing, but for years, the most excitement I got was talking about what I'm going to do in retirement.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to hang out on the beach every day, or I'm going to golf or do travel. That's 30 years from now, right?
Yep.
And when I shifted that to, and it really happened after I left my career, but no, I'm going to create a journey that is that I'm so passionate about that is the destination. I don't want it to end. Like
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that'll evolve, right? I've got young kids, so and then eventually, like you said, I'll be empty nesting and things will change, but I will always have my hands in something that I'm passionate about. And a lot of those things might make me money. And if they
Yeah.
do, great, right?
Great.
Like, but I'm not gonna have this mindset of, oh, gotta go do this another 10 years so I can get here. No, I'm
Right.
here. And
Yeah.
that's where it's gonna stay. And I think anybody can build that mindset in life for themselves. And it can really tie into everything you're teaching, right?
Yeah.
So
I agree. And we believe in you. Do you hear this? Like on this podcast, Jason is basically saying he believes in you. And like I believe in you. And you know why? Because we've seen so many people that take that leap on themselves and just start this, that they've been able to go through it and they come back better on the other side. So it's like we both believe in you. Just take that risk on yourself as well too, because you'll see that the risk and the reward is far outweighing the risk of like, okay, being intentional, knowing where your money's going, getting that clarity. And then, okay, you might feel a little bit like, oh man, it's not as good as I thought. Okay, great. Now we start from here and then we move forward. And then a year from now, you're like, okay, we're a lot better position. 5 years from now, it's like, oh wow, I'm tasting that financial freedom. It's like, it just gets better and better, but we have to start with the habits today.
yeah, I love it, David. I'm gonna you're firing me up here, and I get passionate about this stuff. So I'm glad we were able to connect.
Yeah,
I want to wrap this up, and these are just
sure.
I've jotted up 2 pages worth of questions, but these are just some I'm gonna kind of do rapid fire style,
Yeah, let's do it.
just to kind of wrap things up, and then we'll close it out. What's one financial habit most investors refuse to adopt?
Looking at their finances.
Okay, yeah. One metric you check weekly without fail.
Well, my calendar. Do I have enough time for wife, family, daughter, self versus work? That's something I personally check.
Love it. What's the best money? I'm trying to figure out the best way to ask this.
Yeah.
What's the best money decision that you personally have ever made?
Outside of obviously starting my business and implementing profit first, because we've talked about that ad nauseum. As far as for me, I like personal finance and I like security. I went in on the infinite banking strategy, and honestly, that helps me sleep a lot at night because I can have the cash, but then I know without a doubt this is how much I'm either going to have at the end, like in years, or if I were to pass away, this is how much they'd have. So it gives me peace of mind and gives them, my family, peace of mind too.
I need to get an expert on that topic on here and kind of
Yeah.
dive into that. I'm vaguely familiar with it. but I just haven't dug into that. But
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. What's the worst financial mistake you see investors repeat?
Oh man, I think what we touched on at the beginning, it's the thinking that more deals solves the problem and not attacking the root issue of I need a different way to handle the money. So I think that keeps them stuck in the rat race more than anything.
I think this last one I have probably can have the same answer, but I'm gonna ask it
Yeah.
anyway. What's one
Do it.
sentence every real estate investor needs to hear but doesn't want to hear? I could probably copy paste what you just said.
Right? Just to what I said, probably. But
Yeah.
I'd also say, I'm not sure they want to hear it, but it's make profit a habit, not just an event. So I would say that might be another sentence where they might not want to hear it, where it's like, well, this has to be baked in as a system versus you just waiting for it one day because they're thinking, oh, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I don't have to worry about it now.
I like that. David, this has been powerful, man. I think it's, I know we've gone a little bit over, but I think it's going to touch a lot of people. What we're going to do is drop all of your info. And I'll connect with you to get the links to everything.
Yep.
We'll drop all that in the show notes. And, I'm going to encourage everybody to learn more about you. Start with the book, grab the book, read that. And then if you have a business that has these holes in them and you're just not like myself, just don't have the mindset to head down this path yourself, or you don't know where to start, contact David. He's got a company, and folks that, you mentioned it it wasn't long ago, fractional anything was not in
Right,
vocabulary for businesses. You don't have to go out and hire a six-figure CFO. You don't have to in business. Go find someone that can solve this specific problem, do so with a lot less time as, hiring somebody full-time, a lot less cost, and they're going to get you on the right track. And David's a great example of that. So David, with that, I appreciate you coming on Burning the Ships, my man.
Thanks, Jason.
Have a good one. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Burning the Ships podcast. As always, we want to thank our sponsor, 608B Capital. We are a short-term lending fund, a debt fund, open for investors who are looking for a passive return. And also we offer products to our main product to fix and flippers and buy and holders, folks that are doing things like that in real estate. Also want to remind you about our referral program. Check out our website for more information on that, and we're happy to talk to you further if you're interested. Again, thank you for joining us on Burning the Ships, and do me a favor and go out and try to find someone or some way that you can add value into the world today. Think through it, zoom out, and try to find where you can add value. I think it'll help wrap up your day, wrap up your week, whatever you're working on a positive note if you constantly think that way. Where can I add value? So with that, we thank you for joining us on another episode of Burning the Ships. Have a good one.